Welcome everyone to today's webinar. This is our fourth webinar in our speaker web series for the Product Stewardship 2019 conference that's coming up in a few short weeks in Columbus, Ohio. So today's webinar, we're going to focus on the moderator role and various responsibilities of the moderator. Now, much of this information will be a little bit repetitive from last week's webinar that was for speaker logistics. And understanding everything that you need to know in order to get on site. But that's because the moderator is session personnel and will be there with the speakers. In some instances, the moderator may know the speakers fairly well and be helping with the coordination of the talks. And so some of this information regarding on-site logistics is also relevant and good to know. So we will be covering a little bit of information that we have covered in previous webinars, but also focusing on the moderator role. So again, as a friendly reminder, this is the fourth and final webinar of the series that we've done this year. And we've done several, and this is in order to prepare you to get on site, to give a good presentation and understand the expectations that we have in running the conference for you as speakers and moderators. So again, just listing out the webinars that we've done. If you have not had a chance to join us for some of the previous webinars, all these recordings are online, and I highly encourage you to listen in if you have some time before the conference, because there's a lot of good information in the webinars. As a friendly reminder, we've had a few deadlines the past few months. If you have not signed the speaker agreement, which is housed in our speaker portal, please make sure that you do this before the conference. We do need you to either opt in or opt out of the recording that we do. We have an on-demand service and we record all of the sessions. However, you have the opportunity to opt out. If for some reason your company does not allow you to be recorded, you can opt out. So make sure that you go in and let us know, and we will make sure that your session is not included in the on-demand service. If you have not logged in the speaker portal again and you have not updated a bio and added a headshot, it's a great way for you to be able to let folks know a little bit more about you and get people excited for your session. It doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be a CV. Just a few sentences about your interests, what you do at work, and if you want, you can add a headshot as well. I believe that most speakers and moderators at this point are registered, but all are required to be registered. So if you have not done that, make sure you do that before you get on site. I believe there is an option to register on site. If you are planning on doing that, you can also do that as well. If you have not reviewed our speaker toolkit that's on our Product Stewardship 2019 website, please make sure you do that. It has a lot of great information. It also has the recordings from all of the webinars. So I'm including the URL to the speaker toolkit on this page and a screenshot of what that looks like. It does have the PowerPoint template, which we'll talk about in a little bit, so just make sure that you go and you review what we have posted there. And again, we have a lot of information there, the webinar recordings, the PowerPoint template, logistical information. Make sure you go and read that when you get a chance. So talk about a little bit of information for when you get on site. I've provided the registration hours. The location of the registration desk is on level 2 in the Greater Columbus Convention Center. It's in the foyer space outside of the A-pod rooms, which is specifically room A210, is where we're going to have the registration desk. We have very lengthy hours starting on Monday, September 9th at 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's a ton of hours. If you're planning on coming a little bit early, we encourage you to come on Monday. Tuesday, since it's the first day of conference, we are going to be open at 6 a.m., but we probably are going to have a rush. So if you get there on Monday and you have some time to head over to the convention center, we'll be there till 7. It's a good idea to come over and pick up your badge, your on-site guide, ask any questions. And then we'll also have hours Wednesday, Thursday as posted on the slide. So when you get on site, again, go over to the convention center. I believe most of you are probably staying at the Hilton, which is connected, so there should be some sort of a skywalk over to the convention center. Head to our registration desk and pick up your badge and your materials. One thing to note is that there's no speaker ready room or anything like that. This is a smaller conference, so we just ask that you will go directly to your assigned session room. And please try to go at least 15 to 20 minutes prior to the session start time. If you want to test anything, or you say you want a little bit more time to talk to someone, to an AV person, you should check the schedule, make sure there's no session in the room when you want to go. But if the room is free, you can certainly go to the session room and you can load your presentation onto the laptop that we'll have there. We'll talk about that a little later. You do not need to bring your own equipment. We'll have a laptop there. And you can kind of go through and test your slides and test your videos, and we'll have AV folks circulating around the convention center, at least for the hours that we have listed, and someone should be able to help you. You can also always go to the registration desk, and it will always be staffed at the hours indicated, and you can find a staff member to help you. So for your room number, we have room numbers listed on the Product Stewardship 2019 website right now. The mobile app, I believe, is live, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well, and so they'll be listed in the mobile app. And then when you get there, they'll also be listed in the on-site guide that you'll get at registration. Again, we'll have AV techs circulating between the session rooms so they can help you with any of your session needs. One thing to note is that we have standard room sets, and we won't have additional equipment, but I'll get into that in a little bit. And again, staff members will always be at the registration desk if you need anything. So here are the rooms that we will be using in the Greater Columbus Convention Center. We have 211, 212, 213, 214, 215, 216, and then that's the A-pod rooms that I mentioned earlier, and Union Station A. Union Station A is the general session room, so that is larger. I'll be showing you diagrams of the rooms in a few minutes, but if you're in Union Station A, one best practice is, since it's a large room, you can encourage attendees as they come in to move up to the front so you can get more of a small group feel if that's what you're going for. Most of the sessions that we place in Union Station A, based on previous feedback, or sessions that we feel, from previous evaluations and feedback we've gotten, that would maybe be more popular and need more seating. Talk a little bit about the room setup and equipment, and as I've mentioned, these are standard room sets that we have already previously discussed with the AV team and had approved, and we can't add any more equipment than what we have listed. So we do have a laptop and a projector. You don't need to bring your own laptop. You just need to come to the session room with your file drive loaded onto the laptop. We'll have a screen sized appropriately for the room in the convention center, wireless mics, and one wireless slide advancer. And that slide advancer, I'm not sure that has a laser pointer. I don't believe that it will. So if that's something that you feel like you absolutely need a laser pointer and you have one, you should just bring that with you to use. Now, we only have 4 wireless microphones, and some of the sessions do have more than 4. So that means you're going to have to share, and they should be fairly easy to pass over to another presenter. I don't think there's any complicated setup to use the wireless microphone. So if you have, a moderator, that person will get one, and then you have between 3 to 5 speakers. Perhaps the first speaker can pass off to the third speaker or whatnot, and you guys can figure out a way to use them equally. Again, we can't provide any additional materials or equipment. Everything is pre-approved. We do have a tight budget, and we can't order additional equipment. That includes anything related to the internet, screens, speakers, anything like that. What we have listed here is what we have to offer, and we can't make any exceptions. Now, if you have a question related to this room setup and anything that you want to do when you get on site, I encourage you to reach out to me via email and ask. So I would rather that you ask now and we try to come up with a solution or talk through what you want to do, than if we get on site, the earlier that we know about certain requests, the best we can help you. So a little bit about room layout, which is important. We have a more interactive layout for this conference. We don't have a traditional layout, so there's no head table or podium up at the front is we really want the presenters to walk around and engage with the audience. There's some informal seating off to the side for the presenters to, place your things and sit down if you're not presenting, if you're not up on decks to present. We really just want you to walk around, make eye contact, engage with the audience, and not be sort of static behind a podium. We've received feedback in the past that attendees want interactivity. The audience seating will be set in rounds, and that can accommodate 50 to 75 people per session. And again, this encourages interactivity between the attendees to be able to talk to each other before the session if there's any sort of interactive games or kind of like something that you want to do as a breakout and you want to encourage people to talk to each other. The round seating, the round tables is the way to go for that. So I want to show you the layout of the rooms, and so this is room 2, I believe this is room 211, 212. You can see the rounds, you can see the projector with the table, which is probably, there'll be the projector, and then you'll have a table right next to it with a laptop, and the informal seating. And then there is an area in the back for our personnel that will be working on the recordings. This diagram is Union Station A, so this is the general session room, and this room is larger. You can see there's many more tables in here. There is a stage. I see a podium on this diagram. We probably won't have a podium there. We've asked that there be no podiums because we want more interactivity. We don't want folks standing static at a podium in the corner, not moving and not engaging with the audience. So given that there's no podium and you may not be near to the laptop, you might not be able to view any kind of notes with the PowerPoint. So we encourage you, if you have notes that you kind of want to have, you can print those. You can use a smaller notebook or an index card if you need to glance down. Some presenters don't need notes. If they've presented at many conferences, they may be okay with not having that, at a podium. And so I just wanted to make you aware of that room set because it's not the traditional way to go. But I think it is the way of the future in terms of education and presenting and learning for the audience members. A word about PowerPoint presentations. Again, we don't have a speaker ready room. We don't collect PowerPoint files in advance of the conference. There's no deadline for you to turn them in. We don't have to review or vet them before the conference. Again, you would just put them on a flash drive, and when you get to the conference, you go to your session room and load them on the laptop. Very important that our PowerPoint template is set to a 16:9 ratio. I'm going to show you in a minute how you, if you're not using the PowerPoint template, how you can make sure that whatever slide deck you're using is set to a 16:9 ratio. So this is for the education session breakout rooms and the general session room. So you want to make sure that it's in a 16:9 ratio. It's a wider screen. I'm using right now the standard template, which is a 4:3. And if you were to use the 4:3 on a 16:9 ratio set screen, you'd have a lot of white space, and it may be harder for folks to see because the slide information is smaller. And I wanted to have a quick note is that we did have a PowerPoint template, unfortunately, online a few weeks ago that was set to a 4:3. Then it came to our attention that the Convention Center was setting everything to a 16:9, and so we did change it. And I will be sending out an email and some instructions that it should be in 16:9. So let me show you how you can make sure it's set to a 16:9. So when you open up your slide deck, you go up to the Design tab at the top, and then you go over to the right and it says Slide Size, and you click down on that. You'll see 4:3 standard and widescreen 16:9, and you want to make sure you click on the 16:9. If you've already done a slide deck and it's in 4:3 and you click 16:9, it will convert all of the slides, and then there's a little bit of reformatting to do And since we did have the 4.3 up, I am more than happy to resize your slides and resize some of your images for you. I did do that for a couple presenters, and I'm happy to do that for you. If if you're done with your slides and you don't want to do it, you can send them over to me, and I'm happy to help you. So let's get into a little bit about the moderator role and responsibilities. What are the primary responsibilities of the moderator? Well, first is to make announcements. So you're going to introduce the audience to the session. You're going to state the session title. Also, if there's any information that they need to know, such as there's a replacement speaker at the last minute, sometimes that happens, you'd want to make that announcement. The moderator also introduces the speakers, and I'll show you in a little bit where you can find the speaker bios. It's also important the moderator keeps the session on schedule, so making sure if there's multiple presenters, if there's an hour session and there's 3 presenters, then they each get 20 minutes, which would include Q&A for each speaker, and you want to make sure that nobody goes over, because you'll probably hear about it in the evaluation. A lot of times people, it's not fair to one presenter if everybody gets 20 minutes and one presenter goes over, and then the final presenter is scrambling to present information and doesn't get to finish what they had prepared. And usually we hear about that in evaluations because the audience members are usually pretty passionate if they don't get to hear according to their expectations, what they thought they were going to hear during the presentation. The moderator will also assist with Q&A, and so at the end of the session, there are going to be kind of a Q&A with the audience, and the moderator can help take the questions and make sure that everybody's voice is heard. And then the moderator will also help with evaluation reminders to make sure that feedback is given. The evaluations are in the mobile app, and I will talk about that in just a bit of how to evaluate the session. So again, moderators make announcements. This is the stage that you'll do it from the lectern. There's no lectern, you'll just do it from the stage. Identify the session title, introduce yourself. Any last minute presenter changes that are not already advertised, you'll want to let the audience know about that. Briefly introduce the presenters. Bios are needed to make the introductions, and they're posted on our webpage. Now you'll just introduce each presenter as they come up, which makes the most sense, and not all at the beginning. Make sure as the moderator that you are keeping track of time. If you kind of want to have some sort of a hand signal or some sort of method that you're going to use, maybe just put your hand up, a show of fingers, whatever, how many minutes or whatever left, so that the presenter knows that it's getting close to time for them to wrap up. So it's important to make sure that they stay on schedule, and I think this also includes don't end early. Like if you have an hour-and-a-half session that you were approved for, don't end after an hour, because I've seen that happen at previous conferences. If somebody's expecting to go to a session that's a deep dive, then they're going to expect that there's going to be an hour-and-a-half of content. If someone's going to an hour-long session, they're going to expect that there's an hour long. So if you end at 30 or 40 minutes, someone might feel like they were about to devote an hour to their time to that session to learn more about the topic, and it was cut short. So it's also important to make sure you don't end early. So where do you find the speaker bios? You go to the Product Stewardship 2019 website, and everything will be under the Learn tab. So everything that's most relevant to you as a speaker and related to your session is under the Learn tab. So when you go and you click on Learn, you'll then click on Education. When you click on Education, that's going to bring up a list of all of the sessions. And that'll come in a new window or a new tab, however you have your computer set up. So then you'll see that it's organized by day, time, and you can also see the various session types. And so if you click into the session that you're moderating, another window will come up with the session information, and you'll see on the right-hand side is where we have all the speaker links to their bios. So you'll select the speaker, click on the link, And when you click on the link that's provided in their name, it'll bring up the bio, and there is a print function at the top if you want to print those and have those. You can also have them on your phone. You can get these in the mobile app. They'll also be in the mobile app, I believe. You might have to actually set up the speaker might have to set up their profile in the mobile app. So the best way to do it is just to go to the website. And if you want to have it printed beforehand, you can print it. You can't print it on site. I'll talk about that in a minute. So you're going to have to do that before you leave if you want to have the physical copy of them. If you want, you could also just save them on your phone or your iPad and speak from there. Some of the bios may be longer than others, and you may not have to read it verbatim. You might just want to look at it, summarize a couple main points that you see. If you are working closely with the speakers and you want to talk to them beforehand about how they want to be introduced, you can certainly talk to them. But that is the main source to find the bios. So again, you don't have to read the entire bio. I'm sure some folks have put in a lot more information than others, and you're not required to read all of it. You can just summarize a couple sentences on their employment, if they have research interests, their career trajectory. You are not required to contact speakers beforehand. You should have everything that you need from the website, but if you want to talk to them beforehand, you can certainly email me, and I will provide the emails for you to get in touch with them, especially if you are moderating the session, but you're not maybe familiar with the speakers, you've just volunteered, then that might be a good option for you. And then again, make sure you review them and you're prepared so that when you arrive at the room 15 to 20 minutes prior, you have your general plan in place, you can talk to the speakers, but you're prepared to introduce them. So I want to switch gears a little and go back to just talking about some of the presentation software that we're going to have available and some more on-site logistics. So again, we're recommending that you use PowerPoint and use our template. It provides a nice cohesive look for the conference. Sometimes using company slides can be misconstrued as commercialism or a sales pitch for the company, and so we recommend that you use the conference template. So we have Adobe Acrobat and HTML files which can be used as well, and we'll display in our laptops. You have to use the laptops that we have on site in the session room. Please don't try to use your laptop and connect that. We'll have everything already connected. We are already working with AV. You don't need to bring your own laptop. They're Windows-based PCs, and they have Microsoft PowerPoint, Office, the latest versions of Adobe Acrobat Reader, Windows Media Player, QuickTime for Windows. So other programs are not going to be available, but if you created your PowerPoint on a Mac computer, it will open on the PC that we have available. Again, we're recommending that you try to come and test your files, especially if you have a video or you have audio or something like that, and you want to make sure that that's working. It's a good idea to come early. The AV tech should be able to help you with that sort of thing if something's not playing correctly. Make sure you come early. You don't want to come 2 minutes before and realize that something doesn't work. So another item, we will have a wireless internet. We don't have hardwired internet. Hardwired internet is quite expensive, and so we don't hardwire the rooms. But the wireless internet should be strong enough to support what you need. I mean, I wouldn't be relying on any outside links or outside content. You should embed all of your audio and videos into the PowerPoint. That shouldn't be a problem using wireless. If you're constantly trying to connect to outside websites, that might be an issue. So we do recommend that you embed everything and then bring a backup copy so that just in case AV needs to work with you, they have the files that you need. So I've seen live polling done successfully during sessions using a wireless connection, and we've provided some sites that do have some free options. However, we can't guarantee the quality of the internet. There will be a few hundred people at minimum, who are probably going to be on the internet at all times, and so that might stress out that connection. And so if you can certainly build a live poll into your presentation, but don't rely on it for a huge portion of your presentation, because again, we can't guarantee the strength of the wireless internet. And just a quick note that we do not have a polling feature in our conference mobile app. So if you're interested in doing a live poll, then you're going to have to do some investigation with some of the sites that offer free services. So just a word about presentation materials. Again, we are not going to have a mechanism for you to be printing things on site. We don't have a speaker ready room. If you have supplemental materials such as a handout or something you want to give out, make sure you have that printed before you get there. There are some options on site though, so if you do get there and you decide you need to photocopy something or print something or anything like that, there's a couple areas in the convention center that you can go. There's a guest service center on the first floor, and there's also another location that's up near the meeting rooms. So it's near meeting room A120. And any of these associated costs on site are the speaker's responsibility. So really, it's the best thing you can do is make sure you have things printed before you get there. Another note is that we are recording our sessions for our on-demand service. We don't allow personal recording. On-demand sessions will be available after the conference, and this is based on permissions from the speakers. Again, speakers have the opportunity to opt out if for whatever reason their company won't allow them to be recorded, but you do have to go in the speaker portal and review the speaker agreement and opt out and sign that agreement, and then we will know not to include your session. Generally, we want the room to be kept quiet, so part of the moderator's responsibility to make sure that there's not too much chatter or not too much noise. And any kind of question or statement that's made by an audience member should be repeated in the microphone by the moderator or the presenter, so that we make sure that that's captured in the recording and that everybody is able to follow along in the session. Just another note, if you're moderator, you're working with some of these presenters, that we do recommend that speakers include their email addresses and contacts on the last slide, and this way attendees can reach out directly for session materials. In the past, we have posted slides afterward and made sure that we, ask all the presenters if it's okay if we post those. But the best way if an audience member wants to maybe reach out to you or talk further about your materials is for you to just provide your contact information. Again, if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, then you don't have to put your email. But it's a nice way for folks to be able to connect with you after the session. And again, for moderators, make sure that you remind the attendees to take the evaluation. It's helpful for you if you need feedback on public speaking and how you're presenting your content. And it's also helpful for us as we plan future conferences to know what's popular, what maybe wasn't well attended, maybe which speakers did better than others. And it helps us so that we can help you be better next year when we're doing the speaker web series. We can provide more information and more guidance. So I've mentioned the mobile app, and we do have the mobile app. It should be live, I believe. If it's not live today, then it should be live by the end of the week, probably by tomorrow. And there you can do a lot of things in this mobile app. You can review the whole agenda. You can find the room assignments. You can review information about the speakers. You can view the full session descriptions. You'll be able to plan your schedule. We will be sending alerts and update notifications out throughout the conference, so it's just a nice way to stay connected. You can learn more about our partners and our sponsors. You can also update your profile and connect with other attendees. I believe there's a meeting request function, so you can, if you want to meet with someone who's going to be at the conference, you can send that in the mobile app. So to do that, you'll search in your app store on your phone for Product Stewardship 2019, and I believe that there is a desktop version, and you can follow the link that we have posted here to download that. So session evaluations, our sessions are evaluated in the mobile app. And again, it's great for you to remind attendees at the session to log in and rate your session and provide feedback. Last year, we didn't get significant enough feedback to really send out to the speakers, and so we want to be able to send you feedback and say we had a significant, amount of your attendees log in and give us feedback. We will be sending out a notification via the app at the end of the day to log back in and rate the sessions. And again, it's just important to help with planning each year and also to help you improve as you give presentations throughout your career. We'll have several areas that folks will rate. They'll rate the quality of the content, the quality of the speakers. Right now, we don't have a mechanism to rate individual speakers, but there is an additional feedback comment box where folks can provide information. If they felt more strongly about one speaker, they can provide information there. And it will be rated on a 5-point scale. So another quick note, our sessions have a limited number of speakers, and this is so we ensure that there's enough time for meaningful content. An express session is a half hour, so really anything more than one speaker is too much. So we have one speaker, 30 minutes, that's supposed to include Q&A. Standard session is 60 minutes, maximum of 3 speakers, so they each get 20 minutes, which would include Q&A. And then the deep dive, which is an hour and a half, has a maximum of 5, which is approximately 15 minutes, a little bit more for each person, including Q&A. And then we also have half-day workshops, which are 4 hours, which are being held on Monday, September 9th, and those have a maximum of 3 as well. And I've mentioned previously, but we have those maximums in place because we want speakers to have time to present meaningful content and engage the audience with questions. Please don't bring anyone to the session to speak who is not already listed and approved. We have a peer review process. The sessions were approved as they were submitted, and we have a limited number of resources, so it's not a good idea to just invite someone to talk or just bring a colleague along because you think their perspective will be helpful. And please, if you're planning on doing that, reach out to us and let us know, because we need to know if there's going to be someone extra there and not find out right when we get there. So just let us know if there's any kind of scenario like that. But again, we have these caps in place to make sure that the sessions are meaningful and there's not too many people. And again, if for some reason you have a speaker replacement or someone drops out before the conference, which does happen, unfortunately, sometimes in life there's unforeseen circumstances, just let us know. We would love to get have you provide a replacement speaker, but if you can't, then we'll go ahead and if there's only one speaker in the session and we have to cancel, we'll do that. If someone in the session can cover the content for the presenter that has to drop out, that's okay too. Just make sure you communicate with staff and let us know. Just a few notes about the Greater Columbus Convention Center. Again, all of our room sets, all of our equipment, all of that's been discussed previously with the center, with the AV team. The fire marshal does approve the room sets, and so we ask that please don't move furniture around. Please don't bring your own equipment. Everything that's in the room needs to stay in the room as it's laid out, and that's what we have available. We can't make any exceptions. We can't have any other equipment provided. And a note about that is that we don't allow you to bring in any sort of equipment, and that includes any kind of speaker or handheld polling device. Anything like that is not permitted. If you have handouts, you are welcome to bring those with you. Again, we recommend that you print them beforehand because we won't have an area for you to print, so then you'll have to go to a business center. So it's better to just have all that with you. And any, you hand carrying something is fine, but please no carts or dollies. If you require anything like that, contact staff member. So that's all the information I had for today, and I hope it was helpful for you. I've included my contact information here, which I'm sure you have all seen in various communications, so please reach out if you have a question. And now I'm going to go ahead, because I've seen a few questions come in the Q&A chat box, and read those. If you have a question, you can chat it in now, and I will answer to the best of my ability. So one of the questions is, what is the distance from the hotel to the convention center? Well, I'm not entirely sure the exact distance. You're going to want to leave yourself to get over there. I would say probably 10 to 15 minutes at least to walk through the skywalk. Some of the convention centers are pretty big, so I'm not sure where the skywalk is going to let people out and how far that's going to be. It's always a good rule of thumb when you're at a convention center to leave like 15 minutes or so to actually, like, for the travel portion of walking from through the hotel, through the skywalk, into the center. Again, I don't know where. I will be there early, so I'll know that information. I'll be there on Sunday, so if for some reason you did want to know that, you could email me and I would let you know Sunday or Monday before you get there. But again, I think usually 10 to 15 minutes walking portion, and then if you need more time to go to the registration desk and the session room, just budget that in so that you're not late to your session. Another question was, I have a speaker whose primary language is not English. Having access to speaker notes was very important. Is there a preview screen for presenters? Unfortunately, our room set is such that we don't have a podium, so even if it was set to presenter view, the laptop's going to be right next to the projector, so the speaker really can't stand there and be reading notes. So again, I recommend that the speaker just have the notes either in a little notebook or index cards or a piece of paper that he or she can glance down at to make sure that they're available. Yeah, unfortunately, since we don't have the podium in the corner of the room, that's because we have a less traditional room set and we were trying to encourage interactivity. We're just not going to, I don't foresee that even if the laptop is set to presenter view, that it's kind of defeating the purpose of the less traditional room set. So it's really better to just have it printed or have it on an index card so it's available to you. But again, we can't change the room set, so we can't add a podium back in or anything like that. So just please make sure you come prepared. Are there any other questions based on what I've stated today? I see another one. Can the presentations be preloaded to in-room computers? USB drives are not permitted with my corporate issued laptop. So I guess I'm maybe not understanding the question. You might be able to access your email if you want to do it that way. So if you email it to yourself, because some companies don't allow the USB drives. So you might be able to just email it to yourself, email the final version to yourself, and then access your email and get it onto the desktop. But if you're going to do that, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you get there early and not be trying to do that like 10 minutes before. So I'd make sure, check the schedule, and then you can go, if you're there the day before and you have a little time and there's nothing in the room, you can go at that time and load it onto the laptop. Or if you don't want to access your email, maybe if you had it in a Dropbox situation and you could just drag and drop it to your desktop, that might be another option. And I think a couple folks did do that last year and it worked out just fine. Are there any other questions that folks have? I have another question. Can we send presentations to you ahead of time so they can be loaded onto the room computers? Again, I'll be there starting on Sunday. I wouldn't be loading on Sunday. I could potentially do this on Monday. However, I would still encourage you to have a copy available Again, if you have it in a Dropbox that you can access, or if you have it on your person in a USB, I would be happy to load for you on Monday if you want to do that. But again, make sure you have a copy somewhere just in case. Monday we have 2 of our workshops, and they're in one room, and I can't guarantee what happens with AV floating around various rooms, even if I go load it. So I'd be happy to load it for you, but just make sure you also have a copy on your person as well. Do we have any other questions based on what was presented today? I'm not seeing any other questions. I mean, I can give you another minute or so, but again, my email's up on the screen, and so if you have questions, if you start thinking about things as we get closer to the conference, you can send me an email. Again, it's better to contact us sooner rather than later, because the more time we have, the better we can help you. I just want to make another announcement that, again, this is the final webinar that we're doing in the Speaker Web Series, which I hope you found helpful. All of the recordings and the slides are posted on our Speaker Toolkit, and if you did not have a chance to attend all the webinars, I would encourage you at least to look at the slides. If you have time to listen into portions of the recording, please do that. It's a good idea to review the materials and just have a good understanding of the expectations and the logistics before you get on site, so you know how best to conduct yourself, how best to ensure that you have a well-received presentation on site. So I'm not seeing any more questions. I'll go ahead and close out the webinar today. I thank you for attending. I hope you got a lot out of it. If for any reason you have a question or you have a concern, you can feel free to email me directly, and I'd be more than happy to help you and talk through certain scenarios or questions that you may have. Thanks again for attending, and I look forward to meeting you all in a few weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.